What's going on, guys? Welcome back. My name is Brandon, and today we've got a fun welding project. We're going to be doing some stick welding with 6010. Stick around. This area back in here, it's just an unlevel section of my property. I want to build something that has like some tines in it to dig up the dirt, and then I want to flip it over and be able to fill all of that back in, so then I can seed this area and have a lawn back here. And now here's the finished product, and I have a nice thick green lush lawn, and I'm going to show you how we're going to build a lawn scraper drag that did all this and made this possible. I picked this up at our local scrapyard, and I immediately recognized it as something I could use. Now I think what this is, it looks to me like maybe half of a clothesline. It looks like it's made out of Schedule 40 black iron pipe. So this is what I'm thinking. We weld some tines along this edge. So I think this is maybe like a piece of ground rod. We'll cut that up. That looks to be like 5/8. This looks to be like some 3/8 plate. We'll use this as far as the hitch. And for the back cutting edge, we're going to use an old bed frame. Bed frames work good, they're just hard to cut. We'll talk about that too in a little bit. So when we're all said and done, this will basically be a drag. One side will have tines on it. You'll be able to tow it behind the tractor. The other side is going to have a flat cutting edge. What I'm doing here is I'm just cutting off all those J-hooks, and I think that this is where the ropes probably used to connect when it was used as a clothesline. So I'm just cutting those off to the approximate height of what I'm going to be cutting those tines off to. Now here's that bed frame that we talked about. I was just plasma gouging off, and I'm getting everything to length. Using this basically as the strong back like we talked about to weld onto the back of that. We didn't end up using it. It sounded like a good idea at the time, but it just wasn't necessary. So now I'm just cutting up this 5/8 round dowel. These are going to end up being used as the tines on that drag, and this drag worked incredibly well. You'll see towards the end I end up having to put some weight on it. You recognize that cast iron pan. That's been in a lot of videos lately, especially the silicone bronze one that we just did not long ago. Now I was just grinding off that hitch. That's going to be the tube where I was grinding. That's going to be the hitch for the tractor. And now I'm just forming up the shape that I'm going to use to make the hitch. And this is going to actually sleeve in to that area on the pipe that you just saw me grinding. I started out using a plasma cutter on this, and it just was not working good. This is 1/2-inch plate, and I'm only plugged into 120 volt power here, so I actually needed a little bit more power to get this job done right. So I ended up using, as you can see, a cutoff disc. Now I'm just grinding everything smooth and flush, and I just traced out where I want to sleeve that in. It's just so I can get more weld metal material on this. This doesn't have to be too fancy. It's not going to look good. Literally, it's just a lawn drag, and it's going to be thrown in the trash after a couple years of use, I'm sure. Now I'm just flipping it over. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, kind of like mark out where I'm going to actually make that slot. So like I said, that way I can weld it on the top and on the bottom. Now I've just got a little piece of pipe. I try to like save time by making things a lot simpler, you know. Just find a piece of pipe that looks about right and cut it out. Now I'm in the workshop, so I'm easily able to cut this out because I have 240 volt power in my workshop. I don't outside over to my shed. You can see how nice that cut. That's what I was showing you there. Now I'm just kind of using a compass, and I'm scribing their circumference. I don't have to do this. This is just kind of like me getting probably fancier than I need to get. But it's kind of fun to do metal fabrication, and when you do something, even if you know that you're going to throw it away, you still try to do a good job, and you want it to look good. You can see it's got some paint on it. It's got a little bit of rust. Now 6010 and 6011 rods are very similar. 6010 is a DC only rod. 6011 can be used on AC or DC. What I'm doing here is I've actually taken a piece of that bed frame and just tacked it on each end, and I'm actually using it as like a guide so that when I go to tack these tines on, they're all in a nice even row, and I'm just going through just putting a real quick tack on it, and you'll see here in a minute I end up breaking off that little guide just so I can get all the way around it. But this is welding up those tines super nice with 6010. I will let you in on a quick secret. These did not break off. A couple of them bent, and there was a lot of tension on this because I had a lot of roots and a lot of just heavy stuff that was in the ground, and I actually at one point had a root that caught one of the tines, and it literally brought the tractor up into a full wheelie, and it never ripped the tines off. So, you know, I love using 6010, 6011. It's a little more forgiving when you're doing projects like this outside, especially with like rusty metal. You don't have to grind it, get it absolutely perfect. It's good practice to do it, but you know, if you want to stick a couple pieces of metal together out in the workshop using 6010 or 6011, it just works really good. It doesn't give you a really great looking bead. It's hard to stack dimes with 6010, 6011. It's really difficult to make it look like a 7018 weld, but I really like using it because it has awesome penetration, and if looks were a thing, you could always cover it with some 7018. Or even better yet, if you could get it into position, you could cover it with 7024, and that looks really good. I've got some videos on 7024 rods. If you haven't seen any of those, check them out. I'll put a link up above. It's just really nice stuff. So here we are. We're mounting up the hitch. I actually made that hitch for that tractor, and we're going to start towing this around, and you guys will get an idea of how well this worked. You can see here, it worked okay. At first, I hadn't dragged anything up to this point, so it basically picked up a lot of garbage, like sticks and leaves and rocks, and you can see I have to clean it off. And I've watched some videos on doing lawn restorations, and they say that you're supposed to kill off all that grass first, or else you get weeds. I haven't had that. All right, so let's see how it held up. That worked out well, no breaks there. And let me flip it over so you guys can take a look at the tines. None of them broke. One of them bent though. You can see it right, that one right there. But all in all, worked out pretty good. There really wasn't enough weight to dig into the soil. So what I ended up doing is I put a couple large blocks that I stacked right there. And I had the tines down. I haven't even used the backside. I haven't used it like you see it right now, and I don't know as if it's necessary. I was thinking that it'd probably be handy, but those tines kind of pretty much drag everything. They take down the high spots and fill in all the low stuff. Worked out pretty awesome. What do you think? A little bit different than when we started this morning, huh? And you can see I've got a nice, thick, lush green lawn. This is probably 2 seasons since I made that original video, but there was some footage within that video that I discovered when going through some files, and I kind of wanted to bring you guys up to date, but I wanted to show you how well my lawn came out after doing that. I didn't kill the grass off. I know that's what they say to do in a lot of like tutorials on doing grass. I got to fix my mulch a little bit here. I literally just scraped it up with that tool that you saw, and I ended up putting seed over it and some fertilizer and some straw, and this is what I got. And I came up with a nice, beautiful, nice, thick green lawn. And that's all there is to it, guys. I want to thank you for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you're wondering about any of the tools or any of the things that you saw me using in the video, I'll have links down below. And if you're a beginner welder, be sure to check out the beginner welding series. New videos every Friday. Until next week, guys, I will see you then. Take care, stay safe, like, comment, subscribe. See ya.